Alright guys, back at another episode of the Ultimate Rebellion Podcast. It has been way too long, my apologies for that. We had technical difficulties, then we had the holidays, and then we were sick. So like a good month's gone by, but here we are. We're excited to do another episode and just keep going. We're going to try to get one out every week again. Look for it on Thursdays, and we'll just keep rebelling and pushing ourselves to new limits. So, last week was, we talked about rebelling against weakness. Talked about how each situation we get ourselves into, we always have a voice in our head that's trying to do something else, trying to go soft or the easy way out. And nothing's paved on the easy road. It may look pretty, it may look good, but I mean, it just ends up in a giant mud puddle. We take the hard road, we do what we know we're supposed to, and we end up reaching our goals and accomplishing the tasks we need to accomplish. I had some feedback on the last podcast, and everybody was like, okay, great, use the word savage, but I can't be a savage every day. I have my kids I need to do stuff with. I don't want to be a savage around them. Or do I need to be a savage when I go to church on Sunday? Like, just everything, just these questions. And I want to take today and build onto that, because I think some of that point was being missed. We can be and we should be a savage 24/7. I mean, even we can talk about being a savage when you're asleep. What's your sleep routine? What's all this stuff? We want to be a savage 24/7. That's how we separate ourselves from other people. That's how we reach our goals. That's how we build an empire, take over the world. So, we're going to start by a definition. Looked it up in the great interweb, and the definition of savage is an animal or force of nature that is fierce, violent, and uncontrolled. So those last three words: fierce, violent, and uncontrolled. We're going to blow through each one today, give some examples, talk about it, and by the end of this day, you'll realize you can be a savage 24/7. All right, so first one we're going to talk about is fierce. And I've heard this story a couple times. Recently we're in Utah, it's been snowing, and I've thought about this too. We get a ton of weather where we're at, and there's what? I don't know, we're just going to talk about the story. All right, so there's a story, and it talks about the difference between buffaloes and cows. When a snowstorm comes, and you can see this, I mean, it's so cool. We live close to Yellowstone, we can go up to Yellowstone, and you can see this. Storm starts brewing, rolls across Yellowstone. Buffalo, they will turn, and they will take that storm head on. They know that if it's going to suck, it's going to be cold, it's going to be freaking tons of snow, they're going to have to trudge through it, but they know that if they take it head on, walk through it, that storm's going to pass them quicker, they can get on the other side and be over it. That's what we want to be. Now there's a cow, just a regular old beef cow. When they see a storm coming, they take it and they're scared of it. So they go and they run. They're going to run as far away from they can from it. Eventually, just in life, we're going to hit a barrier. They're going to hit a fence. They're going to get into a grove of trees they can't get through. Whatever it may be, they're going to hit that barrier, and the storm's going to catch up to them anyways. But now that storm catches them, they're exhausted. They're tired, they're cold, they're sweating, whatever it may be. It just amplified the effect that storm has on them. And honestly, the storm amplifies as it catches up to them as well. So you're just prolonging the damage and making it even worse. So we don't want to be like the cow. We want to take this as a savage. We want to be fierce. We want to walk right into the storm, take it head on, handle our business as we need to, get through the other side, and move on. As we were planning for this, I also thought of the word buffalo versus the cow. The buffalo's smart. When we are fierce, we're making smart decisions to push ourselves in the right direction, to work through the problems, whatever it may be. So we take this about being smart and being fierce and into our daily lives. How do we apply it? I mean, that's the biggest thing we can get out of this, is how can we apply? We want to be a savage. How can I be a savage? And I think this aspect of being fierce and smart is the easiest way to apply into our lives. The next two, being violent and uncontrolled, a little bit harder, going to come with a little more time. But fierce and smart, just like I had a lady ask me, how do I do this with my kids? How do I be a savage? Being a savage is not necessarily just being ruthless all the time. It's taking each situation and making the best outcome of it that we can. So you're teaching your kids. I mean, that time, I mean, we all know kids, they don't have an attention span for more than 15 minutes. So being a savage while you're teaching your kids is optimizing that 15 minutes attention span that they're going to give you. Being a savage while you're playing with your kids, give them your attention. Don't just, okay, well, I was on the floor. Well, yeah, but were you really watching the football game while you were sitting on the floor, maybe tinkering with Legos with them? Or did you give them your undivided attention? I mean, even when it comes to discipline, it's not, oh, I'm a savage, so I need to yell and scream. No, it's what's the most effective for each kid. All kids are different. You got to figure out the situation, that kid's attitude, how they react, and then you can make the choice of how to handle it the best to get through that situation, to learn the most from it, and move on. So it's not just being violent or being just crazy all the time or ruthless. It's making the best out of each situation that comes up. Okay, so moving on. The next word in the definition was violent. And everybody's, oh, savage, they're just running around causing grief all the time and fighting or wrecking stuff. And that's not what this violent means. Violent, we're going to take it and we're going to say we have to fight mentally with ourselves every day. Every time a situation comes up, we have a mental battle that we need to win. The only way we're going to win is we're going to be violent. I mean, I think of a great example is the cold plunge. I see it all over lately, this cold plunge. People are filling coolers full of ice water or barrels, whatever it may be, and doing these cold plunges, which is great for your mental health. There's a ton of benefits from it, but that's violent. Like, you think about it, you're just dropping your body into ice cold water. That is violent. But look at the outcome of it. Because you weren't fighting anybody, you weren't causing anybody harm, but that was a mental choice that you put your body in ice cold water to get the benefits from it. And that's what we have to do. This violent is going to come in our discipline. What are our choices we're making each day? When that hard task comes up, or, I mean, for a lot of us, we don't want to have to make a hard phone call, or we don't want to do a hard task, or breaking up with somebody in our lives that we don't need anymore. Like, that's all hard choices, but we need to mentally be disciplined, make those choices, do the hard thing, and just move on. That's the thing. Instead of dragging this out, just be violent, win the battle, move on. Whether you're gaining knowledge or cutting someone from your life, either way, you want to do that as quick as possible. You don't want to drag this out. Okay, so we'll use violent with ripping off a Band-Aid. That hurts like hell. But just hurry up and do it and move on. So that's where the violent is going to come to the mental fight. We want to, we want to violently choose to be a savage every day. And that's not even daily. That's almost every minute. Every time that choice comes up, we have to violently choose to be a savage and take that on. I heard a great quote. Actually, your brother sent it to you. Do you want to read that to us?
Yeah, so discipline is the bridge between gods and peasants.
I love that quote. Obviously we put it in here, but that's so powerful. To take it, the contrast is huge from a god and a peasant. What did you feel when you read that from your brother?
So I feel like, because the truest form of discipline is what you're doing when nobody's watching. And that's what separates you from being a god and a peasant. If you're just doing it when people are watching you, then it's like, okay, that's what they think of you, but what do you think of yourself? You want to go do better for yourself.
No, I think that's 100% right. The example of what choices you make when no one's watching is so powerful. That's the best judge you can give yourself is, okay, yeah, when people are watching you, you're busy, you're on task, you're pushing through the day, but when you go home, what are you doing? Do you just totally give it all up and, oh, I'm exhausted, I worked so hard today? Or do you keep pushing? Do you keep grinding to get to that next level? And like, it just goes back to these daily or momentary choices we have to make of this discipline. I mean, and now we have this great quote that we can think back on. When something hard comes up or uncomfortable, something we don't want to do, we can say, okay, am I a god or am I a peasant? What am I going to choose to do? Am I going to be a savage and take it head on? Or am I just going to be a peasant and freaking live in the manure and straw all day and get nothing out of life? So I challenge you guys, when these hard choices come, remember these two things. Think of that. Am I going to be a savage and turn myself into a god? Or am I going to be stuck as a peasant all day? Make that choice, do the hard thing, conquer it on the other side. Okay, the last one, I think this one's my favorite because there's so many different ways you can take uncontrolled. But it's fierce, violent, and uncontrolled. And you think of a wild animal, they're just out running. Nothing controls them. And at first I was like, wow, man, like, we don't want to just be running around uncontrolled. But then I really thought about this, and this is uncontrolled by no man. We have total control of ourselves, but we let nothing outside, whether it's the weather, whether it's an object, whether it's another person, we let nothing control us. We are in total control of ourselves. And this is going to come with practice. Social media, as good as it is, also has some downsides. There's so many people today that they will do whatever they can for likes, shares, comments, everything on social media. It's what they live their life off. Oh, I gotta post this so I can get some more likes. And they take their worth off of their likes. I mean, hey man, what's going on? Looks like you're having a bad day. Yeah, I did this post that I thought was really cool, but only like 20 people liked it. So fetching what? Like, why are you letting other people's click of a button control your life? Like, as a savage, we are controlled by nothing but ourselves. We don't let anything from the outside world dictate what we are going to do. And I think as I grew up, this was extremely hard because you wanted to fit in. I mean, we didn't really have social media when I was in high school, but it was still just fitting in. So it was, oh, you'd have a story to go along here so you could see like you were cool and fit in. And now as I grow up, and I mean, I'm still learning and growing every day, and this is like, no, I don't care. This is the best outcome for the situation. I don't care what your thoughts are on it. I mean, if they're good thoughts, I'm going to take them in consideration, but ultimately it's my choice, and I dictate what I'm going to do. And then, I mean, just a perfect example to tie this into our lives, we're diesel mechanics and we have mobile trucks as well. There's jobs where it is raining or snowing or is 110 degrees and they suck. But the Savage isn't going to back down from that. They're not going to let the weather dictate what they're going to do. And then it's just not, it gets to the point where it's not even an option anymore. Like, I don't even look at the news. I don't care. I know it's going to be cold for the next couple months, so I dress right, and whatever I got to do, I got to do. I don't care if it's snowing or sunny or whatever. We're going to perform the tasks that are out there. And it gets to that point where it's like, oh, well, it's raining. I didn't even notice. So fetching what? If it's raining, we're going to go to work. And we got to get to that point in our lives. And I also want to take this back to, I mean, like the lady with her kids, or even the dad, it doesn't matter who you are, when you're dealing with your kids. How many times do we go, we're not going to go to the park because it's cold outside? Oh man, I don't think we're going to go snowboarding today. Snow's too deep. Fresh powder, it's going to be hard. Oh man, we really wanted to do this, but we got rained out. And you remember being a kid, you didn't care if it was cold. You're resilient. Like, you're out there freezing your butt off, but it was fun, so you kept doing it. But we as parents have let so much control us that we give that freedom up that the kids have. We got to take that back. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what people think. To wrap this up, to be a savage, rebel against weakness, we have to be in total control of ourselves. 100%, no outside weather, objects. Hell, we even tied food into this. Like, how much does food control people? They stress eat, or they don't eat when they're stressed, or, I mean, what's the famous quote by Fat Bastard on Austin Powers? Have you ever seen that?
Oh,
Fat Bastard, where he says, I eat because I'm unhappy, and I'm unhappy because I eat. It's right there. He's letting food control him.
yep.
So, full circle here. Rebel against weakness. Be a savage. We got to be fierce, making smart choices, taking our challenges head on. We got to be violent. Win that mental battle with ourselves each day. And we got to be uncontrolled, being in total control of ourselves. Let nothing in the outside world affect us. We tie all these together. You can be a savage every minute of every day. Get to your goals faster, get to your dreams faster, and live a better life starting now. That's what I love about this. This isn't some, oh, well, I can apply these and I can see outcomes in 3 months. No, you can apply this today and see outcomes today. I mean, right now it's 1:50 in the afternoon. You can apply this, and I guarantee you, you will have a choice to make by 3 o'clock in the next hour that you will have to decide, are you going to be a savage and push yourself towards being a god, or are you going to stay as a peasant? In the next hour, there's going to be something in the outside world that's going to try and control you. Are you going to let it? Like, you can see these results today. So, as I said, challenge you. Think about this when these situations come up, when you have these decisions to make, when something tries to control you. Think about this, make the right choice, see the outcome, and then push yourself towards that outcome. Your life will change forever.